We talk a lot on this channel. About the negative aspects of Call of Duty and the things that developers do wrong. What about the opposite side of that discussion? It is a special day when we get a brand new topic never done in COD history on the Chaos Call of Duty channel. I see the memes, I see the people that hate. You do the same 10 Call of Duty list videos over and over and over again. Yeah, you may be right, but it's more like we do the same 100 to 200 list videos every year or two. Yeah, we kind of update them as new Call of Duties come out, things change. Anyway, what about the things that they do right? I mean, the things you got to say, you know what? I'm going to give the developers a nice little head nod here. What is up, everybody? Jimmy, your Chaos. Today, we're going to be talking about what I think is the single smartest thing in every single Call of Duty game. So sit down, buckle up, strap in, and put on your happy hats today because we're going positive. You let me know which of these things you actually think was the smartest. Drop a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed as always. And remember, I read every single comment on every single video. Don't try to pull one over on me. The guy that said that I was literally living in a delusional Treyarch bubble and that Modern Warfare 2019 was the last great COD game. You are not going to get those over on me. You're not. Let's be positive. Change. Here we go. COD 4. Custom classes. Call of Duty is known for custom classes, unlocking weapons, fine-tuning your playstyle. The Call of Duty 4 was the first game in the series to have custom classes at all. Up until this point, Call of Duty was a fully class-based game like Battlefield or even Team Fortress, so adding a whole list of guns you got to pick between and a bunch of perks to make your playstyle more unique, it was huge. It was a massive game changer. It's actually kind of crazy to think about it, but there truly was nothing that played like COD 4 back in 2007. It completely changed the way multiplayer FPS games were designed moving forward. It is definitely the smartest thing in COD 4. Awesome way to start this list. Today's video is sponsored by the Pendragon Cycle, and the new trailer just dropped, so let's react to it together. All right, here we go. I am a sucker for anything medieval that's done right, especially with the rise of Arthur, King Arthur, and a young Merlin. This is the beginning of a bigger story, a larger foundation. I'm all about it. And what I look for with medieval movies or shows, I want it to feel like the big screen, which this looks like that. The outfits, the suits, everything they're wearing, the battle sequences. We have to have major battle sequences. And this looks like something filmed for an actual movie on the big screen at the cinema, which is exactly what I want. Epic battles, fantasy, Arthurian legend. I mean, count me in. I'm a sucker for this stuff. This looks really, really good.
Premieres January 22nd.
The Pendragon Cycle Rise of the Merlin, based on the novels by Stephen R. Lawhead, premieres exclusively on Daily Wire Plus January 22nd, 2026. Click the link below to go watch the trailer right now. World at War. Tanks. A lot of you probably don't know this, but back in the pre-COD 4 days, it wasn't uncommon for Call of Duty multiplayer maps to have vehicles. Heck, COD 3 had motorcycles, jeeps, and tanks running around the multiplayer field. But after COD 4, Treyarch was I guess they were at a bit of a crossroads because on one hand, everybody was loving the new infantry-only style multiplayer that COD 4 had put on, but on the other hand, there was a lot of people who loved the older vehicle-heavy style COD. So with World at War, compromised. They put tanks in certain larger maps, and you know what? I think it was the coolest part of the entire multiplayer experience. It may sound crazy, but the tanks in World at War felt right at home in the multiplayer. They added a ton of extra personality to the maps that they were on, included in it. Maybe one day we'll get something like this back in COD, but I don't think it's going to be for a while, and it can't be mechs. Modern Warfare 2, 2009. Custom kill streaks. Smartest thing. Kind of crazy to think about this, but there was actually a time in COD history when you couldn't customize your kill streak loadout. You were stuck with the standard 3-5-7 streak lineup of COD 4 on World at War. Modern Warfare 2, they introduced the concept of picking your own kill streaks and giving you a ton of them to pick between, all of which had their own price that may or may not have been fair for how much you got in return for the grind. Custom kill streaks were a huge game changer for COD, to the point that there hasn't been a single COD game since Modern Warfare 2 that did not have custom kill streaks. Can you imagine just how different Call of Duty would play today if there was no custom kill streaks? Come on. Or not custom kill streaks. Yeah, custom kill streaks. What am I talking about? Black Ops 1. The best Black Ops, almost. Secret power weapons. I don't think people realize how important of an idea this was for Treyarch to have in the original Black Ops. Nowadays, it's really common for there to be power weapons in COD. Yeah, the Death Machine, the War Machine, the hand cannon, so on and so forth. But that whole trend started way back in the original Black Ops, and the series might have looked really different if they never came up with this. The only way to get the power weapons in this game was to run the care package. Then you had to get lucky, but there was some all-time greats hidden away in there. The Death Machine was amazing. The Grim Reaper, holy crap. Treyarch apparently was even thinking about putting the MP40 in here too, but it was cut before development ended. If Treyarch never put power weapons in the care packages, we never would have gotten the War Machine or the Annihilator in later Black Ops games. I think this was definitely the smartest thing they did in the game. You may not have expected me to pick this for the list. Just think about how different the series would look if that had never happened. Modern Warfare 3 2011. I'm going to go with Specialist Streaks. Now, I don't know who originally had the idea to turn perks into streak rewards, but I do want to shake their hand. I want to buy them a beer because it was a phenomenal idea. Specialist Streaks were first introduced to COD in classic Modern Warfare 3. It was a game changer that people instantly fell in love with. Being able to trade out your kill streak reward for extra perks, that was cool enough, but then you added in Specialist bonus. You could literally earn every perk in the game and turn yourself into Captain America in Call of Duty. That was it. That was peak. Specialist was an instant hit with the community. I'm still amazed it didn't become a staple of every single COD game. It should be in every single COD game. Black Ops 2, this is an easy one. Smartest. Pick 10. Treyarch reportedly came up with the idea for the Pick 10 system after some of the developers were playing card games with each other and decided to start throwing in wild cards to the classes, which eventually evolved and escalated into the class system that we know as the Pick 10. It was honestly a bit controversial at the time because some people thought it was a little too complicated for a game that was as simple as Call of Duty, but the amount of customization that it gave you, it was unmatched, unrivaled. I still think it's the best class system we've ever had in the series. Being able to sacrifice certain aspects of your class to double up on other parts, that was a wild concept. It meant that people were investing entirely new playstyles in Black Ops 2 that literally weren't possible before the Pick 10 system. I think it's the best idea. There was a lot of good ideas in Black Ops 2, but this is it. It became the staple of the series for several years. Call of Duty Ghosts. I'm going to go with Field Orders. Ghosts had a lot of bad ideas. We always focus on it, but it did have some good ones. Field Orders was a really cool way to shake things up. Keep the community engaged as the match went on. You could pick up a little briefcase with a challenge in it. You could get some pretty cool rewards if you ask me. There was even some maps where the Field Order rewards was something crazy like a chem strike or turning you into the Predator. Yeah, the Predator if you weren't back then, or Michael Myers. I mean, there were so many things wrong with COD Ghosts, but I think everybody loved the Field Orders. I think it's still one of the best things about the game overall. It was hard to have a bad time when there was a chance you could turn yourself into Predator or Michael Myers in Call of Duty. Advanced Warfare. Custom score streaks. I wanted to say customization, but I'm just going to go with custom score streaks. When I said Modern Warfare 2 had custom kill streaks, I meant the game let you pick which kill streaks you wanted. When I say Advanced Warfare had custom score streaks, what I mean is you could literally modify your score streaks to make them more or less powerful by discounting or increasing the price, which was a wild concept for Call of Duty at that time. I mean, there were some score streaks that were kind of lame by default. You could make them crazy, to the point they would turn into a high tier streak, obviously at the cost of a much higher required score to earn them, but okay. Custom score streaks were an awesome way to shake up the formula. I'm really surprised that they haven't come back in any of the games. Infinite Warfare had something similar, but other than that, custom score streaks have been limited to AW, which I think is a mistake. I think it was a really good idea. Smart idea. Black Ops 3. Gunsmith. No, not talking about the gunsmith that was introduced in Modern Warfare 2019 back in Black Ops 3. Gunsmith was totally different. Not only could you create custom paint jobs for your guns that were actually really cool, better than the default camos in a lot of cases, it's also the first time in COD history you could put up to 5 attachments on a weapon, obviously at the cost of several extra pick 10 slots on your class, but okay. Black Ops 3 had an unprecedented amount of gun customization, both cosmetically and gameplay-wise. It added a lot of new dynamics to the gameplay. Personally, I kind of prefer this version of the Gunsmith to the version that's in Modern Warfare 2019, but that's just me. Infinite Warfare. I have no idea. I gotta be real with you guys. I really don't know what good ideas there were here. Infinite Warfare was basically just a copy-paste of Black Ops 3 with a lot of things that made people like it less. I mean, can you think of any good ideas that were on display here? I mean, I guess you could say there were some cool maps, some fun weapons. Those aren't really what I mean when I say good ideas or smart. Can you think of anything super unique about Infinite Warfare that was a really smart idea? I'm not trying to hate here. I legitimately can't think of anything. COD World War II. Community events. Who remembers Attack of the Undead? Do you remember that event? Remember the Winter Siege event or the Days of Summer? COD World War II may have gotten a lot of criticism during its launch period, rightfully so, but one way that Sledgehammer tried to win back players was with all the community events, and honestly, they were pretty cool. Every event came with some new free content. You had cosmetics, weapons, overhauled maps, HQ makeovers. There was a lot of challenges you could play with through the XP, or you're doing XP boost and achievements. It was a really cool way to keep the community unified and engaged with the multiplayer, even when they were not unified and engaged and they all left. Black Ops 4. Blackout. I may be salty about the removal of the single player campaign in this game. It could have been good, but the fact that we got Blackout in return, it was worth it. Blackout was the first, and some say the best, attempt at a Call of Duty Battle Royale. I mean, I miss it. The gameplay was basically just PUBG rebuilt in Black Ops 4's engine with all the Black Ops 4 assets, but it was so much fun. There were so many unique ideas to display. You had zombie areas, power weapons, all the classic Black Ops throwback locations on the map. Seriously, putting classic multiplayer maps around the Blackout map as points of interest was genius back then. I am holding hope, fingers crossed, that Treyarch is going to make that new version, or we're going to have that true new version. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If Blackout was released as a standalone, or it was free to play, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. We probably wouldn't have Warzone, to be honest with you. Modern Warfare 2019. Blue. Ground War. May sound a little weird, but I think Ground War was the best part of the game. Maps were good, the visuals, sound design, it was great. Even though I wasn't really a fan of Modern Warfare 6v6 gameplay, I had some fun in Ground War. I mean, a lot of us COD players always wondered what it would be like to play Battlefield with killstreaks and perks. Modern Warfare 2019's Ground War, it scratched that itch. We got a taste. So even though I really didn't like 6v6 in the game, I enjoyed Ground War quite a bit, actually. It was a good idea. Even if it was later basically just turned into Vessel for Warzone map expansions, it was a good idea to start with. Black Ops Cold War. Combined Arms. Now, Combined Arms was the Black Ops Cold War version of Ground War. Although it was scaled back a bit, turned into kind of a middle ground between Modern Warfare 2019's Ground War and the classic Golden Age version of Ground War. The maps were bigger than usual. They weren't quite as big as they were in Modern Warfare 2019. They didn't have nearly as many vehicles running around, and I think this kept the pace high. It made the combat more about gunfights, more about positioning, as opposed to Modern Warfare 2019, where Ground War could, most of the time, turn into vehicle spam and camping for killstreaks. They were two very big different team experiences. I thought they were both good. I mean, they kept the gameplay varied. They had some interesting new dynamics to the modern COD formula. Vanguard. It's really hard to talk positive about Vanguard. Combat pacing. Sledgehammer was dealt a really rough hand with this game. They did their best. I respect it. At the end of the day, I think combat pacing was a really good idea for giving all the different kinds of COD players something closer to what they wanted out of standard multiplayer experiences. Combat pacing split the matchmaking into 3 categories. Those being tactical, assault, and blitz. And even though the only thing that really changed was the team size, it gave you some control over just how fast-paced you want the experience to be. If you wanted something slower and more suited to camping, you go tactical. If you wanted something more fast-paced and crazy, you go blitz. Sledgehammer actually ended up pulling the assault category out of the game after revealing that only 5% of people were picking it, but I still think it was a good idea. It could have been expanded upon in later games, but it wasn't. Modern Warfare 2 2022. DMZ. I know, a lot of you looked at DMZ as a gimmick. I'll admit I wrote it off when it was announced, but now that I've gotten a bit of a gauge of what the community thought and thinks, I think it was a good idea. I know DMZ was just a ripoff of Escape from Tarkov, but it was still a great new way to introduce people to the extraction shooter subgenre, and it was able to hop on the trend way before a lot of the other major AAA developers could. And even though I'm not a huge fan of extraction shooters, I haven't tried Ark yet. I've heard from people who do like that genre that DMZ was actually a pretty good example of the core gameplay loop. So the community was never big, and I've heard that the updates were a little underwhelming. The DMZ was actually a nice shakeup and a cool way to hop on that trend before everybody else did. Modern Warfare 3, 2023. Nostalgia bait. This is one of the only times in COD history where I think the nostalgia bait, it worked. It was done correctly. Modern Warfare 3 was an impossibly difficult situation for guess who? Sledgehammer to be put in. They decided to just lean into what the community liked and turn Modern Warfare 3 into a giant love letter to the Modern Warfare subseries. While the time all the updates were released, Modern Warfare 3 was jam-packed with fan-favorite guns, the maps, the throwbacks to both the original Modern Warfare trilogy and newer games. I mean, given the insane parameters put on the team during development of the game, I think this is the best and smartest they possibly could have done. Honestly, I think it paid off for them because now, Modern Warfare 3 is seen by many as the best COD game of the Warzone era. Black Ops 6, they get hate for this. Omni movement. I know, with how ridiculous the movement exploits got in the Modern Warfare reboot trilogy, I think Treyarch was eager to try to get new movement, a new system into play, and you know what? I think it was a good way to escalate the movement of COD without going too crazy. I mean, you got a lot of new movement options. You had way more control of your character, but it didn't get so ridiculous that the game was just chaos, right? There were some skeptics of Omni movement when it was first revealed, but by the end of the day, I think it was the best idea that Black Ops 6 had. It made the game feel unique. The movement was some of the smoothest it's ever been. You may have hated the game, but maybe not deny that the movement was pretty good. Black Ops 7. Open matchmaking. Even if the open matchmaking isn't actually open like we thought it was going to be, it's still a really good idea. Finally, having a more random and connection-based experience, awesome prospect. To the point, it was the main selling point of Black Ops 7 as a whole. That's funny. That's the main thing you're going to market. Why not just make the whole game that way if you know it's that important to the community? Obviously, the open matchmaking didn't end up being all that open, but it was still a good idea. Good enough to get everybody excited to pay and play. Maybe Treyarch and Activision will actually make the open matchmaking open in a few weeks or months, or maybe this is just one of those giant bait and switches. We don't know. We may never know. And finally, COD Mobile. Everything. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think COD Mobile is just one giant good idea. I mean, this is literally just a giant greatest hits game for Call of Duty. There's so much content here. 90% of it's copy-pasted from fan-favorite COD games. So what is there to dislike other than it's on a phone? Got to be playing on a phone screen, right? Might not be your favorite Call of Duty game for that reason, but if we're talking about good ideas from the COD franchise, you have to admit COD Mobile's entire framework is just one giant good idea, to the point I'm really not sure why it hasn't been put over to console or PC. I mean, do you have any idea just how much money would be made of a console or PC version of COD Mobile? It would be absolutely epic. And there you have it, my friends. A little dose of the positive today. The smartest thing in every Call of Duty. Let me know if I got it right or got it wrong. See you guys soon.